All right, here are the answers for those monitoring progress questions. So double check your answers, make sure you got them correct. Okay, let's look at example number 4. So for example 4, we have a terrarium in the shape of a rectangular prism with a volume of 4,608 cubic inches. Its length is more than 10 inches. The dimensions of the terrarium in terms of its width are shown. So we have our width right here is W. That means our length is going to be 36 minus W, and our height is W plus 4. We want to find the length, width, and height of the terrarium. So that means we want to figure out the actual values of all our dimensions. So what do we know first? Well, we know that the volume is 4,608. And how do we find volume of a rectangular prism? Length times width times height. So if we look at our length, width, and height, we have 36 minus W times W times W plus 4. So to simplify that, we're just going to multiply these out. So let's distribute W to W plus 4. So we have W times W is W squared. W times 4 is 4W. Now we have two binomials, so remember, distribute everything in the first to everything in the second. So 4,608, 36 times W squared will give us 36W squared. 36 times 4W is 144W. Negative W times W squared minus W cubed. Negative W times 4W will be negative 4W squared. So now do we have any like terms? Yeah, we have 36W squared and negative 4W squared. So when we're rewriting this in standard form, remember cubed comes first, then squared. So 36 minus 4 is going to be 32W squared plus 144W. Now, since we're solving for W, we want to get this set equal to 0 so that we can factor and solve for it. So we're going to subtract 4,608 from both sides. Remember, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So we get 0 equals negative W cubed plus 32W squared plus 144W minus 4,608. Okay, and then one more thing we need to do before we start factoring is remember, anytime you have a negative in your very first term, we're going to pull that negative out so that we're left with W cubed minus 32W squared minus 144W plus 4,608. So remember, all your signs switch. Okay. So now we have 4 terms, so we can factor by grouping. So let's put it in our pairs. So we have W cubed minus 32W squared. What do those have in common? They both have a W squared. And if we divide out W squared, we'll be left with W minus 32. Now if we're looking at negative 144W and 4,608, what do those have in common? They actually have 144 in common. And if we divide that out, we'll be left with negative W plus 32. So notice we almost have the same, right? We have W minus 32 and negative W plus 32. So what we can do to fix that is actually pull out a negative 144, and then our signs will switch so that they're matching W minus 32. Now each term has a W minus 32, so that means we can pull W minus 32 out front, and we're left with W squared minus 144. Okay, so W minus 32 we can't factor anymore. We do need to check and see if we can factor W squared minus 144. So we're just going to do that over here to the side. So we'll do A times C. So 1 times negative 144 is negative 144. So what multiplies to negative 144 and adds to 0, right? Our B value is 0. That's actually going to be negative 12 and 12, right? Because negative 12 plus 12 is 0. So if we make our box, we have W squared minus 144. Then we're going to split up 0 to be 12W, negative 12W. So what do W squared and 12W have in common? W. If that side's W, then we need another W up here to get W squared. If that side's W, what's this side going to be? Negative 12. If that side's negative 12, what's this side going to be? Positive 12. Double check. W times 12, is that 12W? Yes. So W minus 144 factors to W minus 12 times W plus 12. And we still have our W minus 32 and our negative. Okay, so now we have equal to 0. So we need to set each term equal to 0. So our negative 1, right, that's our first term. Is negative ever going to equal 0? No. So we can just cancel that out. W minus 32 equals 0. W minus 12 equals 0. Or W plus 12 equals 0. So let's solve these. To get rid of the minus 32, we're going to add 32 to both sides. So we get W equals 32. We'll add 12 to both sides. W equals 12. And then subtract 12. So W equals negative 12. So now right off the bat, can a width be negative? No, right? You can't say you have your width is negative 12 inches. That doesn't make sense. So we know negative 12 is not going to work. So next, let's check our 32. So we know that our length is 36 minus W. So length 36 minus W is going to be 32. So that will be 4 inches. And then our length for 12, 36 minus 12 is 24 inches. Okay, so in our instructions, it told us the length is more than 10 inches. So can our length be 4? No, so that doesn't work either. Can it be 24? Yes. The last one we need to check is our height, which is W plus 4. Height equals W plus 4. So it's going to be 12 plus 4, which is 16. So our box is 12 inches by 24 inches by 16 inches. All right, and that is it for 2.8.